Why do we do pathotype surveys? This is a quote from a guy I used to work for, Bob McIntosh. Some of you know him. He used to be my boss. Now I'm his boss. So Bob in 1987 wrote a paper and he said that over the past 60 years it has been customary for rust workers to conduct pathogenicity or race surveys. Okay? There is no doubt that these have proved useful in epidemiological and evolutionary studies, but they have been limited value to breeders. So why do we actually do pathotype analysis? Well, firstly, to monitor the origin, occurrence and spread of new pathotypes. We've done this with UG99. It was first found in Kenya, in Uganda. Professor Pretorius did that work. We've been monitoring the variants that have come from that and their spread. And that's important information, particularly for farmers. To understand how new pathotypes develop, we saw a video before on sexual recombination in the wheat stem rust pathogen. We've talked about mutation already. We'll go into more detail about these. To determine the degree and range of pathogenic variation in a pathogen in a particular region, right? If we want to know how a variety responds, if it's carrying resistance, then we need to know what virulences are out there, what pathotypes are out there. To monitor the resistances in commercial cultivars and confirm suspected pathogenicity changes. So this is what we call resistance breakdown. Farmers are growing a nice variety that breeders have worked very hard to produce. It is genetically resistant to rust, and all of a sudden they find rust in it. What's happened? Has the resistance been overcome? Maybe the farmer's not even growing the variety he or she thought they were. That happens sometimes. So we need to monitor the resistances we put out there. This is part of what we call gene stewardship, looking after the genes after we put them into varieties. And we do that through race analysis. And finally, to obtain new or relevant pathotypes for use in breeding programs and in research studies of relevance to breeding programs. So this is the last one here, where the value to breeding comes in. So Bob was saying, yes, people have been doing race analysis. In many cases, it's been of limited value to breeding. And the reason for that is that the race analysis has not been connected with the resistance breeding efforts. So you might find in some places you've got the pathologists over here doing the race analysis, and you've got the breeders over here, 200 kilometres away, and they don't talk to each other. And the pathologists are doing great work identifying races, pathotypes, publishing nice papers, but they're not talking to the breeders. They're not telling the breeders which pathotypes they should be using in their nurseries. They're not providing inoculum to the breeders. They're not testing the breeders' germplasm with the most important pathotypes. And so there's a breakdown there. The value of the information coming from the pathogenicity surveys in those situations is very limited. You have to have that connection between pathology, genetics and breeding, the communication, right? And it has to be relevant. So you need to know the important pathotypes, you need to know what resistance genes are present in varieties and in breeding populations so that one piece of work can inform the other.